Welcome to the G5 Hive in our next installment of our Worker Bee series, where we deep dive into the G5 college landscape with the folks that know the teams the best. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please leave a rate and review. Today, we'll be taking a look at the Charlotte 49ers, who finished 3-9 last season and recently wrapped up their 2024 spring practice with their spring game on April 20th. We have a special guest joining us today. Please welcome to the show a man who covers it all for the Charlotte Post and talks preps with the Charlotte Observer, Cameron Williams. Cameron can be found on X at CamWillSports. Welcome to the show, Cameron.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate reaching out. Can't wait to talk a little bit about 49ers football. Football's right around the corner. It'll be here before we know it.
I mean, I don't even know if it ended. It's always on our minds.
You got the video game coming out, right? I've seen a lot of hype about that this morning. So yeah,
I saw a little preview of that. So excited. Cameron, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you into sports journalism and covering Charlotte 49ers athletics?
I was kind of in college, just didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. Figured I was pretty good at writing, so I kind of dabbled in some journalism classes. And one of the student reporters at the school paper for the Niner Times, actually at UNC Charlotte, I'm a Charlotte alum, came and gave a little presentation and said, hey, come try it out. Started writing for the sports section and kind of never stopped covering the 49ers ever since.
Awesome. Being an outsider, it seemed like Biff, when they hired Biff Poggi last year, brought a lot of buzz and notoriety to Charlotte. What can you tell us about Biff and what he means to the university?
Biff is quite a handful. He's a mixed bag. He's very charismatic, but the most important thing about Biff is he really cares for the players. He constantly is talking about just his, the want to be there for his guys and looking at him as more than just an asset on the football field. Biff, he's got a great background in football, many state championships at St. Francis Academy, and he really knows the game well. And first year 3-9, kind of a little bit of an experiment, just seeing what he was capable of. But I'm glad that no harsh decisions were made, because I think year 2 is going to bring a little bit more promise.
One thing I think a lot of people see Biff on the sidelines and his cutoff shirt. Can you tell us, is there a story behind that? And then has Charlotte, they started selling merchandise in the bookstore, where kids can go buy that?
Yeah, no, he just says he likes to be cool. And in the summertime when, a lot of football training and stuff like that's going on, fall camps, he likes to be cool. And so he don't care how he looks on the sidelines. He throws on a cutoff shirt and came out first game last year with a cutoff shirt, and that's just how he rolls.
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's get into the position where it all starts on offense, and that is the quarterback. Last year, the quarterback situation felt like a week-to-week thing between injuries and performance. Jalen Jones graduates, which leaves one to believe Trexler Ivy as the quarterback to take the reins in this offense. However, they bring in Max Brown from Florida. How did that QB battle shape up in the spring?
It's going to be Max Brown. He's going to be the QB1. Biff's very blunt about that. He liked the way that Max just came in and really commanded the offense, took diligent time to learn the offense and learn the plays and just really take on a leadership role as an outsider who's coming into a team where he doesn't really know a lot of people, but really was just commanding the not just the offense, but the team as a whole, and really stepped up. And Biff really liked that quality in him, and throws a heck of a ball. I'll say that. He doesn't make harsh and rash decisions really quick. He really goes through his progressions nicely and makes the right reads.
There's a true freshman early enrollee, Deshaun Pirtle. Can you describe his play for those who are not familiar with his game?
Deshaun Purdy, actually, he, really good arm, made some quick decisions, tried to force some things in the spring game, but Biff was pleased by what he saw from Purdy's performance. He's a true freshman. You're going to make mistakes as a true freshman, but he's going to be a great asset to the 49ers. I don't think he'll be the backup immediately, but I think as the season progresses, he could end up being the number 2 guy.
Moving over to the running game, the 49ers lose their leading rusher from 2023 and the aforementioned quarterback, Jalen Jones. But from the RB position, they return their top 2 rushers in Teron Kelman and Hashawn Wilson. I still remember that game. Wilson went absolutely nuts there at the end of the season.
Yeah.
They bring in former Iowa State running back Cartavius Norton and former Michigan running back C.J. Stokes. How did the running back room shape up in the spring?
Well, that's one thing that Biff tried to kind of hide away. They didn't run the ball one time in the spring game, and what little bit of practice, media were allowed to go out and observe. The running back room looks good. I'll be really interested to see what Cartavius Norton does because Biff speaks highly of him. Real stocky, kind of downhill rusher, not real tall, but he can run some people over. So I think Norton will make an immediate impact, and I'll be interested to see Wilson as he takes a more assertive role in the offense because obviously last year he was running behind 2 running backs in Darrell Robinson and Chadrick Byrd for the early part of the season until he kind of took over later in the year.
With Jones graduating, do you think those carries kind of move more towards the running backs here in 2024?
I would definitely hope so. Jones was good in his own right running the ball, but I think sometimes the offense became a little bit too predictable with the read option game with him and the running backs. He gave a lot of cues away as to when he was going to pull the ball and this, that, and the other. So I think you'll see a lot more true, I guess you could say, power running from the I formation and even out of the shotgun. I like to see, or I would like to see this running back room have more carries because I just don't think Max Brown is quite the running quarterback that Jones was.
So, if you had to take a guess, do you think Biff wants like one workhorse type running back this year, or do you think it's going to be a split with all this talent in the running back room?
He's always been a guy that's been known to use a lot of running backs, and he'll tell you that he wants guys fresh all the time. So I think you'll see a maybe 2 or 3 deep rotation pretty consistently. Just be interested to see who steps up and emerges in fall camp and becomes those 3 guys.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have to follow up with you to get an idea of who those 3 are. In the passing game, it has a lot coming back here in 2024. We'll talk about the tight ends a little later, but in terms of wide receiver, they return their top receiver, Jairus Mack, but lose their wide receiver 2 in terms of receiving yards, and Jack Hestra to the portal. They also return Dwayne Thomas Jr. and bring in some help from the portal. They add Justin Olson from Middle Tennessee State, Coffrey Brown from USF, and most recently Omega Blake from East Carolina, who was not there for the spring. So since he wasn't there for the spring, can you tell us a little bit about this room?
Yeah, Mac's gonna be he's gonna be really good. I like Jairus's game, but freshman Isaiah Myers, really tall, 6'3", 6'4", extremely talented, has great hands. But you mentioned Coffrey Brown. Well, he committed to Charlotte, then decommitted and committed elsewhere within a week. So he's not going to be with the team. But no, I like Isaiah Myers and Jairus Mack to be the 1 and 2. I really do. I think even as a freshman, Myers comes in and can just be that deep ball threat for Max Brown. But Jairus is going to be the workhorse. I really feel like.
Can you tell us a little bit about other early enrollee freshman Miles Burris?
Great route runner. I think just by watching some of his highlights, he is real precise with his cuts. Not necessarily doesn't have the hands that Myers does, but he can make an impact even as a freshman. I'll be interested to see what kind of sets they run for him and what kind of formations he lines up in.
Who do you expect to see as the starting wide receivers in this Mike Miller-led offense?
Mack and Myers, definitely 2 of them. You mentioned Dwayne Thomas, really talented, a little bit more of a, I guess you could say, burly type receiver who is isn't afraid of contact. Dwayne Thomas, he definitely can get down the field and assert his size and dominance in one-on-one jump ball situations. So I like those 3. be interested to see if Biff will start a true freshman. I mean, he started true freshman Darrell Robinson last year, but Myers comes in, and I think he gets the start. I think he'll be one of the starting three.
Maybe one of the strengths of this team for in 2024 will be the tight end position. The 49ers returned Colin Weber. In 2023, he led the team in receptions with 34 and targets with 47, and was good for second in receiving yards with 362. Should we expect more of the same from Weber in 2024?
I think you can expect the same, maybe not numbers wise, because now that Charlotte has a quarterback that's kind of more of a pocket presence, I think they're going to be getting it to the receivers a little bit more. A lot of times last year, Weber would kind of be a last resort and like a check down, and I mean, some throws were down the field. Don't get me wrong, but I think from a consistency standpoint, he's going to be, kind of that safety blanket. But I don't think necessarily he'll be second in target or second in receiving yards either.
The offensive line took a little hit this offseason, losing 4 of the 5 starters to graduation or the portal. They bring back center Johnny King. But what did Charlotte do this offseason to shore up the rest of that offensive line, and how did they look in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, brought in a bunch of transfers. Jordan Herman from Florida, 6'8" offensive tackle. Obviously, he knows Max Brown. He's going to protect his blind side. I mean, 6'8", 370. I mean, and a lot of
Big
times
boy.
he's massive. And a lot of times you'll say, oh, well, he might not be that agile. No, this kid can move. Mitchell Mays, another offensive tackle, standing around 6'3", 6'3 and a half from Clemson. So they, Biff and Tim Brewster didn't just sit around and, not address the issues. They brought in some guys that they felt would not only replace what they had, but make it even better.
If you had to pick an offensive player to have a breakout type season in 2024, who would that be?
Breakout type season. I mean, the easy cliche answer is Max Brown, but I really feel like just him coming into a G5 school that he can command and just lead. I think that he could have a really big year. Even in an offensive system where Biff tries to run the ball, I think you'll see a lot more passing than 49er fans would have expected, just because of the nature of how just naturally gifted Max is.
And how you've seen stuff this spring, is he honing in on one target, or is he kind of spreading the ball around to everybody?
No, he spreads it around. He doesn't have a favorite guy yet. He did talk about, Isaiah Myers calling him up top Zay, just because how tall he is and how he has a jump ball ability. But no, he spreads it around, and he really seems to have a good connection early with a lot of his teammates. So I think it'll be interesting just to see how he continues to develop the relationships with his receiver room.
A key thing that we all want to know, roommate, is he roommates with any of the wide receivers? That's a big narrative.
That is a question I actually don't know. I'd have to ask him.
All right. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball and talk about the guys up front along that defensive line. They lost Aebe Okeyamora to the NFL, but do return Des Morgan, Damon Clowney, and Jonathan Wallace. How did that unit look in the spring, and did anyone stand out to you?
It looks really solid. I was watching them just do some O-line, D-line drills, and they brought linebacker Stone Handy up to kind of reinforce the defensive end position. He's a Russian linebacker, and so he replaces Anoma, at least in the sense of being that kind of defensive end that really gets to the quarterback. But no, I mean, Damon Clowney's going to be. I mean, he's talented. He's really, really talented. Quick and agile. Can really jumble some offensive linemen's brains. But I'd like to see just the development that they've been going through, and I think they'll be able to get to the quarterback. And I know that's one thing that 49ers defensive coordinator is big on, is he likes to blitz.
Moving over to the linebacking group, they lose their top 2 tacklers, and Demetrius Knight and Nakai Hill Green, to the portal, but they return Prince Burma, Stone Handy, who you mentioned earlier, and some others. Kind of how did that linebacking group shape up in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Prince Bima, he was the do it all guy. Had an interception in the spring game. But yeah, Stone Handy, he's uber talented. Him and Bima both. I'd like both of those guys to kind of be the anchor in the linebacker room. But Ostadima, I can't even pronounce some of these names, y'all. I'm telling you. But he's the brother of left tackle for the Panthers. Excuse me, and he played for Notre Dame prior to last year. So I like how the linebacker room's shaping up, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of formations is ran to try to, I guess, exploit the qualities that they have. Because every linebacker Charlotte's got this year has unique qualities, but a lot of them are different in various ways. Some are really good in the pass game, and others are better downhill trying to get after the quarterback.
Can you tell us anything about App State transfer Donovan Spellman?
He looked solid. Didn't really jump off the page, but another key piece that Biff felt that was going to be an asset. I talked to him very briefly about him, and just he liked his game and thought he could come in and make an impact.
With the top two tacklers leaving for the portal, the leading tackler from the 2023 team is Dante Balfour, who returns in addition to the defensive backfield. Also returns CJ Burton, Amehe Ale, and others. They did take a hit losing Isaiah Hazel, Wayne Jones, and DeAndre Hollins to graduations, as well as freshman Cameron Howard to Alabama. How did that unit look in the spring?
Yeah, you mentioned just the losses, but again, hit the transfer portal hard. Balfour is going to be he's going to be the guy that Biff and company leans on to really anchor that room. But they bring in Antonio Coatman, cornerback, Derek Edwards, another cornerback. Coatman Jr. He's actually 6'2", 6'3". They bring in Sammy Anderson, who I think is going to make an impact at 6'2". So yeah, they lose a lot, but the transfer portal and graduation takes away, but transfer portal also gives too. So I like how they filled in the needs there. It's a really deep room, so I'll be interested to see just who wins some of those battles. And Biff leans on to start, and they're going to be interchangeable. Like I've said already on the podcast, that Biff likes to use a lot of guys, and he'll use a lot of corners and defensive backs as well.
If you had to pick a defensive player to have a breakout type season here in 2024, who would that be?
I'm going to say it's going to be Prince Bima. I've liked everything I've seen from him in practice. He doesn't take a snap off. He everything. It's 110% go. Really talented. Has really good hands. Obviously the interception in the spring game, but also has a couple interceptions just during his time at Charlotte. So I like Prince Beeman to have that kind of breakout year, and I believe what's going to be his final year at Charlotte. Could be his second to last year, but I think it's his last year.
With the spring now over, which position group or groups do you feel is the most concerning?
Concerning. Maybe defensive line. I mean, I like what I've seen from them, but just out of all the position groups, I think that one could have been addressed a little bit more in the portal. They brought some guys in, and obviously they returned probably the most starters out of any unit. But we'll just see what transpires over the summer and over fall camp. But if Biff wants to get to the ball like he came in, when his first year and said he wanted to do, I think just some little improvements here and there could be made on that defensive front.
What would you say is the main strength of this team?
Contrary to a lot of people's beliefs, I think this year it's going to be the pass game. They really focus hard on, in Biff's motto, run the dang ball. Well, they brought in pieces to not just run the ball, but they brought in pieces to become more of a 50-50 split kind of pass run team. And I know people are going to think I'm crazy for saying that, but you're going to see more passing out of the 49ers this year than I think you've seen out of them in quite some time. Even going back to when Will Healy was there just a few years ago, they still ran the ball a good bit, and they trusted Chris Reynolds to pass the ball, but they still ran a lot. I think you'll see more passing this year than even back when Healy was the coach.
When it comes to recruitment of new players and the retention of existing players, how has the NIL and the transfer portal impacted Charlotte?
Pretty negatively. NIL is something that, and I'm sure you guys know, covering G5 schools, it hits G5 schools the worst. It poaches players from good teams left and right, and it becomes a battle of not just recruiting other players from the high school ranks in the transfer portal, but also recruiting your own team, making their situation attractable enough to want to stay at the school they're at for not just one season, but 2 seasons and the rest of their collegiate career. And that's just something that, as unfortunate as it is, it's just the new era of college sports, and G5 schools are going to constantly be poached by the Power Fives to try to make their teams even better, because we're moving out of the one and done era from the high school ranks, if you talk basketball terms, but now it's more of the 1 or 2 and done years, picking players out of the portal. You'll come to the portal or go through the portal and play 1 year at a school and then leave, and the grass is greener somewhere else, as the old adage goes.
Is there a collective that Charlotte has, or do a lot of the players have, I would say, NIL type deals with local car dealerships or fast food places or anything?
There is a collective, and it's a growing collective. I know a few people that are on the board of the NIL collective at Charlotte, and it's an ongoing process. It's growing, but it's just something that G5 schools, they struggle to really try to build up their collective, and it takes donors, alumni, especially from a school like Charlotte. They go to school there, but then they move to X, Y, and Z states for jobs, and they move out of town. And so a lot of people's motto is, well, why am I donating to a school that I don't even get to see the team perform and play out on the field, because I no longer live there. And so it's tough, but the people on the board are trying to get more donors and try to get more alumni on board to donate to the collective.
When did that collective start?
I want to say last year, mid to late last year is when it officially launched, but really started to gain momentum towards the start of last basketball season.
Yeah, it seems like the teams that we talked to, they, some teams were out in front of it. Some people are kind of in the middle of it, and some people are like, "Oh, we should have done this." So it's good to get an idea of kind of where people are in that spectrum.
Yeah.
You talked about retaining your own team, the NIL, the transfer portal, and then like fundraising. All these things are aspects of a head coach in today's world. And so sometimes it might leave a little bit of less room for the actual coaching or the X's and O's.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that with Biff there, or is he kind of like just trying to do it all, or does he have some help?
No, I mean he definitely has help, but Biff won't. I mean, and obviously he's has a background in finance and in the stock market and things of that nature, and really great hedge fund owner and things like that. So he knows numbers. I mean that's something that you can't put past Biff. He knows, he's very intelligent when it comes to that, but he really wants to stick to coaching. But whenever he's called upon, he can give advice as to just what makes numbers work. Lord, he's even given me stock market advice. So no, but he really wants to be more just involved in the coaching, the X's and O's. But I don't think anything is necessarily wrong, or he wouldn't consider anything wrong with getting his hands in the mix in the NIL collective either.
So dust is settled in 2024. What does success look like for Charlotte?
Better than a 3-9 record. No, all jokes aside, I really think Biff wants to get to a bowl, get those 6 wins, become bowl eligible. That was the goal year one. Well, goal year one was to win the American, but some goals are a little bit larger than others. But no, I think success would look like winning 5 to 6 games, 6, getting that bowl eligibility, and then just based on the draw you get, maybe win a bowl game. But never been done in Charlotte, history. Made a bowl in 2019. I lost to Buffalo, I believe. So just getting back to a bowl is going to be key for Charlotte. Not just this year, but in years to come. Having that sustained success is one thing that Biff and the entire coaching staff, Coach Osborne, the DC, Coach Miller, the OC, that's something they want to achieve, is sustain success, and not just have one great year and then a bunch of subpar 4 or 3-win seasons. They want to constantly be competing for championships, not only in the AAC, but competing for bowl wins.
We've talked a lot today, defense, offense, head coach, NIL. But is there anything else that you want to share or think we should know about this 2024 Charlotte 49ers football team?
I think this year's going to look a lot different. Last year, you see Biff come in, and he arrives in January, spring's right around the corner, and he has to fill a team that's talented enough to compete in the AAC. And he's told me personally that he went out and got a bunch of kids that he coached in high school because he knew they were talented enough. But when you bring in, say, 20 to 30 players from one high school and try to mesh them with, guys that were already on the team, it didn't work out, not necessarily from a X's and O's standpoint, but just it was hard getting them to mesh together that quickly. And now that he's had a full season to go out and recruit, and not only high school players, but go out and see kids that entered the portal and evaluate their games, but not just their games, but their character, I think you'll see just a better sense of camaraderie with this year's group, and hopefully that can lead to more wins.
Well, thank you again, Cameron, for sharing your time and knowledge with us today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. If y'all can make it out, come out to a 49ers game. I know there's some good tailgates I can show y'all around to.
Sounds
Heck
good.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're listening in podcast form, please rate and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you all for your support. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.
Hail Charlotte 49ers, proud as we can be. We stand and fight for the green and white until we win the victory. Go Niners! We pledge our trust in you and wave our colors high. The loyal Niner Nation cheers forever. We'll fight.